The Bernina buttonholes can be pretty awesome once you know just the basic steps to get this length programmed. We're going to start off by reaching down into the bobbin case to set up the tension to be just slightly tighter down below. You know your bobbin case has a hole in the finger. What you're going to do is take your thread, leave it completely in the regular case and tension area, but thread it through that actual hole and then just reinsert it into the machine. That way, the satin stitching is going to look the prettiest and pull down to the underneath side. Just remember to unthread that when you're done so that your straight stitching doesn't look interrupted there. Now, your buttonhole foot 3A comes with your machine, and that will just slip in from the right side. Now you're going to have this thread on top, so there's a couple different ways that you can do this. One way is just to take this foot off, put the needle down through the opening, lean it to the side, and pull the thread down. You can just hold that when you do your first one, because once you pull your fabric through, it will pull it down and underneath. That's one way to kind of get it down. What you have on the foot is a line, a red guide that you can set. If you have a button that you're going to measure, you can go ahead and set that up. Now this is going to be in metric, so make sure you have a metric measuring. For example, this is a 23 millimeter buttonhole or button, and so we could set this down here to 23 millimeters, and then we'll know exactly how long it's going to be. So to start off, there's actually quite a few buttonholes on the Bernina 530. So starting with 51, or if you just push 0 on your keypad, that's going to bring you to the very first one of the listing. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different buttonholes, and we're going to go through quite a few of them with this video. So starting off, let's talk about how we are going to get this to be actually clear. Let's see, I'm clearing out my last one here. How we get it programmed in. So the first buttonhole, you're going to go ahead and stitch all the way down. You will have a red line that's following the needle. Keep sewing until the two red lines meet. The very first one is the only one that you actually need to set. So when the two red lines meet, stop sewing. Then reach up here to the quick reverse button and touch it one time. That's all you have to do. Now watch the buttonhole continue back to the beginning. It'll do a tack at the top and then stitch down the right-hand side of the buttonhole. Now this is completely adjustable. You can adjust the length of the stitch if you want it tighter or looser. You can adjust the width of the zigzags. Let it finish out. It'll tack, it'll lock at the end. Just keep your foot on the foot control until it comes to a complete stop. Now watch what's going to happen when I lift up the presser foot. It's going to reset the foot. So make sure you don't lift it up somewhere in the middle of that buttonhole, because it's going to actually go back to 0 and then not be kind of where you were. Now once you have done one, your machine will say auto on the screen. That means that the second one is going to be done just all the way through without you having to do anything. Just let it stitch. You could do 100 of these and they'll all be the same length. All you have to do is start the needle on the exact spot you want it to actually be set on. So I'll speed this up here. Let it tack at the end. Keep your foot on the foot control until it comes to a complete stop. I always have to remind our students, just put your hands in your lap when you sew a buttonhole, because once it's set, it's really going to be a beautiful thing. So, and then you can go ahead and cut those open. You can increase the stitch width. So if you want them to be a wider bar, you can do that. This is pretty dense the way it's set up. So if you have different thicknesses of thread, you might adjust that a little bit. But most of, do you see how pretty those satin stitches are? That's because the threads are pulled to the back side because of the threading of the bobbin case. Now, you have a marking that's on the back part of your machine, marked at 15 millimeters on this side, and that's 5/8 of an inch in. So if you put your fabric up against that, you're going to have the same starting place every time you start. So you don't even have to mark the starting points. You just have to kind of know whereabouts or how often you're going to make your buttonhole. So you can utilize a lot of the marks on the throat plate to give you perfect even buttonholes. Let's try a few other ones. Another one that people use is 56. That's a keyhole buttonhole. So we have a new buttonhole, so we have to preset. Now, I'm actually going to show you this. I had a thread break right in the middle. So we're partially through the buttonhole. So we don't want to start right there. Let me get this pulled out of my thread there. There we go. So to reset the buttonhole, what you're going to do is kind of come up here. I'm going to zoom out and use my pattern begin. That's going to reset the buttonhole back to the beginning of the setup. And then that way I'm right where I need to be. It's going to stitch down. This is the keyhole buttonhole. We're going to stitch down as far as we need to go, touch the reverse button one time, and then that will set the kind of the key, the part to go ahead and stitch all the way around. I'm holding this thread just here just to keep it out of the way because it's not tucked underneath the foot. But I'm going to show you once it's done how that will be pulled out once we're finished. Let it finish. Now that length is preset for you. Watch this. As we pull that all the way through, see how that thread will come down? And now it's tucked underneath the foot. And we have a keyhole buttonhole. So this part here is great for when you have a shanked button. Then that will actually create a place for that shank to sit once you open it up. There's a variety of other buttonholes, from a stretch buttonhole to a straight line buttonhole, which is great for leathers or vinyls, a rounded buttonhole. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Even 63 is an heirloom buttonhole. It's really pretty on delicate fabrics there. But I want to show you how to do a corded buttonhole. You can actually take a cord, and you have a little nub on the back of the buttonhole foot. I'll do this kind of off the foot, but a lot of times I do it with the foot on the machine. You wrap it around on the back part, and then there's a part right up through the middle. See these little kind of arms? When you lay that right in there, it's going to hold onto these threads. And see how it perfectly aligns the cord down the middle? That's going to hold it all the way. We do one of these buttonholes when we are working on stretchy fabrics or something that really needs a little extra secure to it. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the regular first buttonhole. It's still remembering our length, so we're going to go ahead and let that do the length. Actually, I'll make a little bit smaller one. But because of the way the foot is holding these cords, it perfectly aligns them with the satin stitches. There you go. And then stitches over them. And then watch how we're going to set those up. Pulling the cord down the middle also makes for the prettiest looking buttonhole, I think, because it kind of gives it a more raised look. So just unhook the cord. Once you're done, we're going to unhook it from the back of the buttonhole. See how pretty that looks? Then take one of the cords and gently pull. We're going to pull this loop down through one of the legs of the buttonhole until that disappears. And I often will just cut that, but you could take these and put them on a needle and then weave them to the back of the fabric and tie them off there. But honestly, for today, we're just going to cut those because it's really not going anywhere. And look how solid that is and very raised. I love how that actually looks. Another thing you could do is actually with a optional regular buttonhole foot. This is foot number 3, so this is purchased separately. But this would allow you to do buttonholes that would be longer than foot A would allow you to go, because you're going to run out of real estate should you need a buttonhole longer than the foot. Then this is your next option. Now I'm going to actually take it, I'm going to mark on my fabric. You could do this with a straight pin too, a starting and ending point, because the machine is not going to know what size or length that you're actually doing. So you need to go ahead and tell it each step of the way when you're actually stitching. So we'll just go ahead and start at one mark. When you get down to the second mark, you're going to stop and we'll touch the reverse button one time. There's the mark, one time. Now we have to tell the machine at each step of the way. So when we get back to the beginning, and I notice I didn't start right on the line, so I'm going to just watch for the top of my buttonhole. There we go. Touch the reverse button at each step. So there's the tack of the top. Now as it comes back down, it doesn't know where the ending point is. So I will stop it once again and let that actually be programmed in on my watch here. Here we are. Touch it. Now it will do the tack at the end and the locking stitch all at once. Then we're ready to go. So I've done some pretty long buttonholes in my life for various oddity items that I've needed to hook through, and that really holds the opening. I've done a buttonhole that was like this big one time because I needed something to actually come through it, a nice secure edge. You also can do a corded buttonhole with this foot. You hook the little cord over the front of the toe, and when you set it down, that will actually allow you to drag the cord with you through all the different steps that you're doing. So it's really kind of fun to actually work with this. One last thing that you can do, we'll just kind of come up here. Once you've done a buttonhole, so we've done a length with the automatic one. I'll just do a really short one, and we're going to show you how you can set it, program it in, and keep it for later use. So new buttonhole, we'll just do a shorty one. Touch it one time. Oh, this little guy. There you go. Once you have the length set, it says auto, but if you touch OK, it will put it into its own memory. So if you go back to a straight stitch and then come back to the buttonhole, it will show you memory, and you, without even doing anything, you want to see the little one I made? Little tiny one, like a little square. Almost looks like a Lego. All right, we'll put that back in. We've just picked the buttonhole. It says memory, and I can sew that same buttonhole even after I've turned the machine off. That same length will be remembered. If you want to clear that out, what you're going to do is just touch and hold the clear button until you hear the beep, and now it's no longer left in there. If you also make a new buttonhole, it will override it and not keep the old length in there. So you've got lots of different ways to do buttonholes. And don't forget to unthread the finger of the bobbin case once you're done.